All right, everybody, how you doing? Damian Zamora, CEO of Go Mobile Solutions, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona in the United States today. I'm over here at an event called the 8-Figure Boardroom. It's a mastermind with folks that are running 8-figure businesses. And it's all about selling and building offers and generating traffic. And my mind's about to explode. I've been here all day. Perry Belcher just got done off stage. Rory Sutherland was here, who's the author of the book Alchemy. Amazing knowledge being dropped. But that does not mean that the happy hours get put on the side. But we are super pumped. We've been doing this for now a couple years, and we've just been absolutely enjoying this, as you all know, bringing you thought leaders, my friends, my personal network, people that are really moving and shaking. And our guest today, Vanessa Horn, I just met recently in Cabo San Lucas at the JVology event, and I was like, holy smokes, what Vanessa's working on. Vanessa was someone that, if you don't mind me saying, Vanessa grew up in poverty, but over the last, literally by finding mentors, by finding coaches, and by just doing the work and doing the development, now she's been in a position for the last 19 years where she's built and sold several companies. And so what you're going to get to experience today on this happy hour is a completely different view on selling and sales. I'll say it again. I've said it before. The shit don't sell itself. And if you're going to be an agency and if you're going to sell marketing services to businesses, you got to sell. But, we've talked about it over and over again, right? We've talked about consultative selling. We've talked about investigative selling. We've talked about car salesman type selling. We've talked about what we like, what we don't like. What you're going to get today is what I would call the classy close. What Vanessa calls the classy close, but this whole style of selling is a very classy style. It's not the pushy style. Look, there's a place for that, but not in digital agency work. I believe when we're going to call on businesses that are going to put forth their marketing budgets and entrust in you to drive people through that front door or people on that phone or people in their inbox, it is a big responsibility. And I think it takes a more professional level of selling. And that's why we've always talked about consultative selling approach rather than the push approach. And so when I heard what Vanessa's style was, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so freaking perfect for you. So you're going to hear things like how to identify your selling style so that you know exactly what will work more effectively for you. You're going to learn about the champagne close, more new closes. You're going to get some modern style close techniques today, how to dissolve your sales resistance so that your high ticket clients close themselves. Because look, we're in the agency world, right? You're selling a $2,000-$3,000 a month retainer and maybe even a $5,000 app. Last time I checked, that's about a $30,000 commitment or just under that. And so that's high ticket. So you're going to learn some things that are really important for being in the high ticket space. You're going to learn the 10x3 framework for overcoming objections. I love when we can play and role play. And I think Vanessa's going to be taking you through some role play today. So we want you to be engaging. As you know, we love to do this. That's why you get to take your mute off. You get to say, hey, you get to ask questions and you get to engage. So if you want to try some of your common objections on Vanessa, I guarantee you will leave this call with a way to handle that. And you may even say, does that handle that? Absolutely. You're going to learn how to pick the right clients and cut those that aren't a good fit. You're going to hear a story. Vanessa's going to share with you a story. There are customers that you can have in your business that are toxic, and all they do is bring your profit margins down as well as your happiness. And I know you're here. You're not here for any of that nonsense. And so really understanding the right type of clients, how to attract the right type of clients, how to identify the wrong ones, and then, hey, let's just grow up. Let's just cut. Let's just cut when it's time to cut. Because unfortunately, what a lot of people do, because they want to be nice, they just it's not working out, but I'm too nice. So 2 years later, it's still not working out and it's still going on. So we don't want to do anything like that. You're going to learn some strategies from Vanessa to really get grips with this. And Vanessa plans to coach several attendees on this call. So Vanessa, say hi to the Go Mobile community.
Such a pleasure to be here. I am absolutely delighted to be able to spend time with you guys. I sell for agencies, so I know your world. And I also used to own a marketing agency and now own a sales agency. So we're going to have a ton of fun talking about the classy close directly related to what you guys are selling. So I'm delighted to be here. Thank you, Damian.
So let's have some fun, Vanessa. I'm excited about this topic. As you know, the shit won't sell itself. So let's get on with teaching them how to sell it the right way.
Absolutely. Such a delight. Thank you so much for that. And I know you have to run, Damien, but I appreciate the intro.
And I appreciate you. Thank you.
Have fun.
All right.
Bye. My classic close framework for how to enroll, the art of selling high ticket packages is the topic we'll be talking about today. And my aim is for you guys to engage with me on this, and both in the chat, giving you guys also the opportunity to unmute, to raise your hand, to ask questions, because the more engaged you are in this, the more I can make this specific to you, so you get the most value possible out of this. So I'd love to hear, where are you calling in from, and your highest ticket price item that you offer. My highest ticket price offer that I sell for my agency, we don't take on a client unless they're valued at $250,000 or more. And most of our clients, my sales team sells for, are selling packages on the minimum a $8,000 package all the way up to a $100,000 package. So these are the level. When I say high ticket, we won't take on a client unless their package is $7,500 or more. So that's kind of the realm of what I consider high ticket. There's a lot of people who have different definitions around that, especially depending on the industry. But I would say in our world, in the agency world, if you have a retainer model, or if you have a high ticket, I used to sell VIP days where we would flush out somebody's entire funnel and write the copy to their landing pages and write their webinars. And I used to charge $25,000 for that, for a 2-day VIP day. So you can have a one-time transaction like that, or you could do retainers. Both of those are applicable to what we'll be talking about today. So let me share my screen and you guys tell me if you can see this okay. Yeah. So I'm going to come into the meeting with my iPad. So you'll see another Vanessa Horn. And if you would be so kind to let me into the meeting room, and also I will, if you can make me a host to be able to share my screen, then that will be helpful. So my iPad is coming in as an additional participant.
Well, we've got that going. We also have James Laskus from Florida and Joe Mobile Apps for 5K. And,
awesome.
Also public relations monthly retainer for 7,500 and media training for 5K.
Fabulous. Okay. So can you make that, do you see me? Can you make that iPad Vanessa Horn without a picture, a host, so I can share my screen?
Good to go.
Today's conversation, the art of the selling high ticket packages based on my classic close framework. So I'm going to walk through this, and I want you to identify which of these you best identify with. So on this, and take a piece of pen and paper and draw. You can draw this out so that you can follow with me. So this is going to be walking through the quadrants, and to identify what might be your own internal resistance that shows up around sales. So on the bottom axis, this is connection. On the left axis, this is credibility or authority. So there's a selling style that most of us want to avoid, and we absolutely do not want to do, most of us. And when I was in college, I had a mentor and I asked him, what should I go into? Or what should I do for my future? And he said, one, invest in gold, which I wish I had, because gold was $300 an ounce back then. It's like $1,500 an ounce now. But the second thing he told me to do was go into sales. Vanessa, if you know sales, it's transferable to any industry. You'll always have a job. It doesn't matter if there's an inflation, if there's a recession, because if you know how to sell, you'll be taken care of. I did not want to go into sales at the time because I associated with this bottom left. I want you to type in the chat, what's the kind of salesperson you don't want to be? What's the aversion that you might have to sales? Type that into the chat so that we can see what that is. So pushy, Absolutely. What else? What might be another adjective or another way that you would describe the kind of salesperson that you don't want to be? Or when you have a negative connotation, strong-armed, sleazy. Absolutely. So what I call this is the hardcore closer. Now, the thing about the hardcore closer, if you are selling what you want, that's a hardcore closer, because you're not really paying attention to the prospect's needs and what they want most, and is what you have really a match for them. The hardcore closer wants to close at all costs. It's more transactional versus relational. It's forceful, desperate, sleazy, stronger, all these descriptors that you guys have put in there. But there's another dangerous category. Two of them, frankly, and I'm going to walk through both of these, where I'm going to color these yellow because they're not as bad and red as the hardcore closer, but they're still not ideal. So on the connection, high on connection, low on credibility is this category that I see people fall into, BFF, where you become friends with the person, you're chum, you would happily meet for drinks or to go out or to, like, you just love each other, but it doesn't necessarily translate to credibility. I have done so many thousands of sales calls. I've done up to 55 in a week before. I sell over 8 figures of sales myself each year, and my team, the total, we do hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales every single month. So when you look at this, the BFF, I've tested it. I've seen, like, will this work if I become really friends with them? And what happens is you lose some of that control in the sales call, and it becomes a very easy where they end up postponing making the decision. They end up feeling like things are on their terms a little bit more. So I'm not saying to not be friends with your prospects, but I'm just saying, like, when you fall into this BFF category, you're losing some of that credibility that can translate to a close. This other category that's high credibility and low connection is when you are the expert that knows all the things, and maybe you're investing in knowing and being better at what you do, but however, you end up being a best kept secret because you might be better than somebody else. It's a bigger agency because you are so good at what you do. But the risk in this category, a lot of people, what they think is, if I just focus on the product, focus on myself, being better, then I will sell more. But that doesn't translate. How many of us have seen other people who are bigger than us, and we know that our service is superior? Well, this is what's happening here, is that even though you may have a very high quality service, if you are not also good at asking for the sale and closing the sale, then it's not ideal either. Then there's another category, and this one gets better. And this is a category that I call the velvet rope. And this means that you are making sure that who you are enrolling as a client is a 5-star prospect. In just a moment, we're going to walk through what is an ideal client for you, how to get really, really clear about that, because sometimes what happens is when we're desperate to take on a client because we need money, we settle for less than a 5-star client. So I want you guys to get really, really clear about this. And this is constantly evolving. I have clients who do 8 figures, almost 9 figures a year, and we will still revisit the ideal client avatar based on who's getting the best results, who is a pain to work with. So this is not something that you do one and done. This is something that you're constantly doing, is making sure that you're fine tuning who that ideal client is. And the velvet rope means that they are auditioning for you. They're proving that they're a good quality candidate for you. You have qualifiers in place and in your sales process that make certain that you don't take on one of these. And so therefore, they're selling themselves to you before you make an invitation to work with you. And if they don't meet that criteria of a 5-star prospect, you don't make an offer. That's what the velvet rope represents. Now, what do you think is this ideal corner over here of the best quality candidates? High connection, high credibility. Type into the chat. What do you think that ideal sales style is with high connection, high credibility? Any guesses? This is the advocate. And this is where the classy close comes in with relaxed. Yes, Joe, relaxed. And an advocate for you're relaxed because you know you're only making an offer to the ideal clients. You know what you have is a perfect fit for them. And with my system that I'm going to show you, you're going to know how to do the champagne close so that your prospect closes themselves. It's very, very easy to explain that. And so if you look at the advocate, this means that you are committed to their goal. You're committed to the outcome that they want. And therefore, when you're offering your product or service, it's in service to them. You're not strong arming them. You're selling them what they want versus a hardcore closer selling what is when we're selling what you want. So there's this concept of the buyer's pocket, and this is going to play into how do you overcome objections, because I like to overcome objections before somebody gets to the call, before they get to the call. So the buyer's pocket means this is somebody who is ready to go and they are ideal and the type of person who says yes to working with you. Now, what has to happen? What are the psychological stages that your prospect has to go through before they get to the buyer's pocket, that ideal buyer's pocket? Well, there's a couple of things that they need to be sold on first. Number one is the what. This means that they are problem aware. I want you to type into the chat, what is the problem that you solve with your service? What's the problem you solve? Type that into the chat. I want to see what your services solve. Recruitment, Joe says. Okay. Who else? Reputation, VJ says. Not losing more in investments, Jay. Fantastic. Who else? Product knowledge. Awareness, getting leads, Raj. Okay, awesome. You want to get really clear, more clients is Jeffrey, self-servicing marketing. Now, I want you to add to this, whatever you typed into the chat, so that more clients, so that what? Why is that important? Getting leads, so that what? Why is that important? Further info about their product line, so that what? What's the additional benefit that they get from that? So what we want to what the next stage that your prospect, if they're problem aware, they are typing into Google, they are typing into a search engine, looking to solve that problem. If they become aware of you, then now they're at the next stage, which is how are they going to solve that problem? And this is when they become solution aware. Now, if they're solution aware, that means that they are sold on your particular unique modality. So I'll just give you an example. I have a client who sells BRRRR real estate investment strategy. BRRRR is buy, renovate, rent, refinance. That's a very specific strategy in the real estate world. What happens is if she's going to market what a problem aware client that says, hey, you're making a good income in your corporate job, but you feel trapped and you'd like to create an additional income stream in real estate to replace your corporate job, I can help. But what happened was that she was getting a whole bunch of prospects on the phone who were not yet sold on BRRRR. They were looking at, well, maybe I should do wholesaling. Maybe I should invest in commercial real estate. Maybe I should invest in flipping houses. They weren't sold on BRRRR. And so therefore they would not commit as quickly. So what happens is we created a asset in the sales process that ensured that the prospect was sold on BRRRR. Why Burr versus other real estate investment strategies? A fantastic place for that might be your webinar. A fantastic place for that might be even your ads. If you run an ad, a long form ad, you can speak to the client journey of, hey, if you're having this challenge, then this is my unique modality, my unique method, my unique approach to solving it. You don't want it to just be selling generic, because then let's say that they sold the prospect on Burr. The next thing that they needed to be aware, they needed to sell the prospect on was them specifically. So this is when the prospect is you aware. So then we had to ensure that the prospect knew that this wasn't just any Burr strategy. This was a very specific method that this client had developed in order to build a multi-million-dollar portfolio. They'd built a $10 million portfolio in 5 years. How did they do that? And it was even effective for buying properties out of state. So now all of a sudden you have somebody who wants to replace their corporate income. They're problem aware. They are sold on Burr, and they know that this company has a unique solution. So they have hit all the boxes to be able to be pre-sold before they get to the call. Otherwise, what happens is that you become a commodity. So if we think about the fact, if we look at this as an iceberg, and the tip of the iceberg is that problem that your business solves. If we just said, hey, we help you to replace your income from corporate, then what happens is that the prospect, that's such a commoditized solution. So for some of you who do marketing agency services, that's a commoditized solution. So what happens is the client makes a decision based on product and price, because they're like, well, how much are your retainers? How much is your setup fee? Oh, you're $2,000 a month plus 10% of ad spend. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. Oh, this other guy's only $1,500. I'm going to go with him. So you get commoditized. So what you want to do, what you're doing whenever you get them to be bought on the solution and then to be bought on your unique methodology, this is where I want you to name your method and add a little trademark to it and make it be a compelling method name, so that this is when you're marketing to problem. This is when you're marketing to solution. This is when you're getting to the deeper underlying. So when you do this, you get out of being commoditized to your market. And so what's the only thing that's left? The only thing that's left is timing, and that's about now. And so this is about making sure that your prospect is timing aware. Before I will get on a phone call with somebody, I need to make sure that right now is the right time for them. So how am I going to filter for that? 1, on the application. 2, if I'm doing a pre-screening call before they get into a longer 45-minute enrollment conversation, then I'm going to ask, why now? Why not in 6 months? I'm going to ask, why not keep doing what you're doing? I might ask, if you don't do this, what would you do instead? All reasons to find out why is now urgent. If now is not urgent, then I'm not going to spend a full 45 minutes or longer with this prospect. Because I got on a call for a client and the prospect said, this is a 5-year plan for me. I'm not really ready right now. Then I'm like, it's not worth us chatting right now. When you're ready to really launch this thing, then let's connect then. So therefore, you want to be able to really make sure that each one of these are established so that your prospect is pre-sold before they get to you. I want you to type into the chat, which one of these do you feel needs to be strengthened? Actually, I'm going to have you guys score yourself. I want you to score yourself on each one of these. I'm going to go through the scores. So green means that you're super strong. Yellow means that you need some support in this area. And red means that you're really red. So problem aware, would you score yourself red, yellow, or green? that you're marketing to the problems that your prospect has, that you're really good. You got that nailed. Type into the chat, red, yellow, green. Ken says yellow. Joe's green. Good for you, Joe. Anyone else? Red, yellow, green. You're marketing really well and know your client's problems. Now let's go to solution. You're marketing and making sure that they are sold on your particular solution, that you are, if for instance, you do Facebook ads or you do Google ads, then you know that you've pre-sold them on why Google is a superior platform to anything else that's out there. And they're already pre-sold on using Google ads. So type into the chat what your score is around there. Maybe I should find out. Looks like some of you have established businesses. Some of you are new. I'd love for you to type into the chat and identify if you are an established business that already has paying clients and you're got a strong income coming in from that, or type into the chat if you're new, just so I can make this as valuable to you as possible. Ken is a green on solution aware. Fantastic. So type into the chat just so I know established business or new. Okay. Jeffrey's new, established. Okay. We've got a mix here. So feel free at any point, if you have a question about making this relevant to you, raise your hand and then we'll unmute you and you can ask or type it into the chat. I want to make sure this is as valuable to you guys as possible. So now let's go to you aware. This is your particular approach. So if you're selling Google ads, why would they go with you versus somebody else who does Google ads? What's unique about your approach, not your experience? Experience alone is not enough. What is unique about your approach? It could be that you know, even if it's similar to what other people do, but you've just named it a particular method and you have a client story attached to that or your own story attached to that, that could be enough. So type into the chat how you have differentiated your unique approach. How well have you done that? Red, yellow, green. Type that into the chat. Joe says yellow. Anyone else? Ken, yellow. Yes, this is usually one of the areas where we need the most support. So if they aren't sold on you, what happens in the conversation? One of the things I like to ask before I even start a sales conversation is, what resonated with you and motivated you to reach out and book a call? Why us? Why now? And so therefore, if they have a weak answer, which is like, I don't know, your team reached out to me on LinkedIn or on Facebook group, or if they say, I don't know, you guys do LinkedIn marketing. Or if they say, I don't know, I just saw that you guys do Google ads. If their response is weak, you may not get them closing at as high a rate because they don't have an emotional connection with you. So what you want to do is to weave in your story and weave in your method or a story attached to your method so that they have some glue as to why you. Because sometimes they will book a call and not keep the call because they forgot why they booked their call with you. So all the reminder emails, the texts that go out want to emphasize your unique method in the name. You might even name your strategy session something that's uniquely tied to that. And then on now, I want you to type into the score, how well do you currently screen and gauge the readiness level of your prospect, red, yellow, green. So I'm going to just score what I kind of saw were the averages. So I saw that problem aware was roughly light green, not dark. Solution aware was yellow. Definitely a lot of, I would say even potential, well, there was definitely a lot of yellows in you are aware, and then I'm seeing reds here. Okay. Are you seeing, can you see the connection here that when you have not done these things prior to the strategy session, that you will get these objections showing up on the call and you'll be like, what the heck? Why does this keep coming up? Why are they not buying? And the reason is that you have not properly dissolved the resistance before the call. You have not created enough desire and pre-sold prior to the call. So if you're having, and in a moment, we're going to walk through the top objections that you might be getting and my 10x3 framework for overcoming them. But I want you to see if they are not sold, like if my client, they weren't sold on Burr, then let's say I want to back it up. Let's say the client is like, how to escape your corporate job and replace your income. And if they haven't sold them on Burr, or if they haven't sold them on real estate, even, let's just take it up a level, then the prospect's like, well, I don't know. I'm here because I saw that I'm kind of curious about real estate investing. I'm also looking at Amazon store. I'm also looking at potentially doing an e-commerce, and maybe even life coaching. Do you see, like, if they're not sold enough, like, you're going to have somebody all over the place and you just waste your time on that call. If they're not sold on your particular method, they'll be like, well, you know what? I want to shop around a little bit and kind of see other people, and I'll get back to you. If they're not sold on now being the time, then they're going to say, you know what? Let me think about it. Or I'm really busy right now. It's December, so I really couldn't take this on until February anyway. So they procrastinate the timing to work with you. This is because these all need to be present in order for them to be in that buyer's pocket and be ready to say yes to working with you. Type into the chat. Is this useful? It's really hard because everybody's like videos are off, so I don't get as much feedback from you guys, but I'd love to just get a gauge. Like, is this useful for you so far? Yes, Latoya says. Okay. Very, Robert. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Glad to hear that. So I want you to do, for us to identify who is an ideal client, we're going to go through this exercise of a 5-star prospect. So I am going to do a hot seat on somebody around this. Who wants to unmute? And we'll walk through this as an example with somebody, not a hot seat. Let's call it a love seat, right? Somebody who wants to be a love seat that I can do this 5-star prospect with. Who would that be? Raise your hand or type it in the chat.
All right, we're totally gonna need a volunteer. Joe, I see you smiling there. How do you feel?
Joe, is it you? Are you my man?
I'll go ahead. I'll try it out. Yeah.
I don't bite. You'll be fine. Okay. So who is your niche? Who do you serve?
So Iceberg serve charter school networks.
Okay. Charter school networks. What do you help them do?
Create awareness of their schools with the end results to increase enrollment.
Okay, so let's walk through this Iceberg model. So increase enrollment is the problem that you're solving. And the solution is awareness. Is another word for that marketing?
Marketing, and in the sense, your traditional public relations, PR. That's how we provide that service.
Okay, PR. And tell me about what makes your method unique.
Well, we're a boutique agency that basically we have a model that says that we do PR with a public policy perspective. So we're not an overnight solutions, but our solutions or our strategy is going to, will last longer than an immediate solution. So we definitely identify, let's say, the problem, and we break it down for them by providing, stories that are actually going to linger and talk about those schools that parents can relate to.
Okay,
so we tell their story, I guess, in a particular way.
Okay, so I'd imagine other PR companies are promising that. So let's try, tell me more. Tell me, like, if I'm a charter school and I'm like, yeah, we really do, we need to increase enrollment. And then all of a sudden I see your ad or somebody calls me from your agency and they say, hey, we can do PR, but let's just say another PR company also called me. So I have two to three appointments on the calendar to speak to PR agencies. Why else would I choose you over them?
Well, one is we're bilingual. We're bilingual, so Spanish and English, and we're in the second largest market here in the nation. The second is we also provide wraparound services, whereas we will media train their spokesperson on the spot. We will provide logistics for the interview setups with the media. So when the media gets there, I make sure that their branding is up, make sure that, you know, their staff is wearing their polos that are reflected. So whenever there is we take all the opportunities that the camera is featuring them to showcase their school. So that's like some of the basics, you know, our basics.
Do you target bilingual schools?
Either, I mean, but yes, the majority here in
Either.
Yeah, but the majority of the schools here in LA are going to be bilingual. Yes.
Okay, so here's just an idea as an example. You could do your marketing that says, hey, do you have a problem? You need to increase enrollment. What you're missing is, here's where most schools invest their time, energy, and money trying to get new clients. I mean, new students. These are the traditional ways that they market. Here's why PR is superior. And you're with our method, because it sounds like you're kind of like holistic. It also sounds like you help them to elevate. So you could say, not only will you get, let's call it like the elevate method, not only will you elevate because of PR, but we're going to show everything that is going to elevate you to be a top in your market school. So now you become the standard that other schools you'd bypass in awareness in the market, you bypass in reputation, you become that esteemed school that other schools look at you and say, wait, how did you do that? So now you've just explained how you help them to elevate not just their awareness, but elevate to be an esteemed school because of your unique methodology. And then you can go into, here's a case study of a client that we took on. Here's what we did with them. Here's what the result was in their market. Does that make sense? Like, does that help to illustrate how that would be relevant in your business?
That is correct, because as you were presenting the different stages, the me part was that I saw that we were not creating that emotion, you know, so that when we do get to the close, they remember what we were known for or what we do, that extra white glove approach that we provide, you know.
Yes.
So I mean, when you went to that, I immediately said, oh shoot, we are not doing this. We're good at the awareness, we're good at the solutions in what we provide, or the strategy that we provide, but when it comes to the more tangible, and I think that's, for me, that's always been a challenge, because PR is not necessarily tangible unless you get a solid hit, whether it's a newspaper or a story or a news story, right, on TV or the radio. But aside from that, you don't see the behind the scenes, the white glove approach, the training and the logistics, the context, the media relations you have with the assignment editors. That's the stuff you don't see. We're currently doing a story right now. We did a press release, we sent it out. I mean, to get 3 cameras in 1 week, it is like, and it's just me and a partner that are doing this. Whereas we
3
have
cameras, meaning like 3 news stations came?
Yes. Yes. So we have that already in the works, and you know, and they're one English and one Spanish, and one two print. So that is.
So here's an example. Here's where you could use, for instance, you could create this, like there was a gentleman, I can't remember his name now, Scott Olford, and he said the omnipresent the omnipresent method. And he's like, how to amplify your message on all the social media platforms. So for you, for instance, you could say in this elevate method, you say like, not only will we elevate your awareness, we're going to elevate your school to be that premium standard, set a new standard in the market, because most PR firms are going to at best get you one camera there. But look at what we were able to do for this client and got 3 cameras there, because we're creating this, find another word from omnipresence. You could say an echo effect where you're everywhere. It's just like the message of who you are, what your school's about. It's now echoing throughout your community. That's like ways to add some sizzle, because a lot of the things that you were describing to me were features of your white glove service, but those things don't matter. People don't care about white glove per se, unless they can see the benefit of, well, why is that important? So that's why I'm like, with everything that you guys share, I've asked you at the beginning to say, so that what? So that what? Right? So we do white glove service. So that what? So that your team can relax and you know that we've got it covered, because most agencies are going to have you carry 60% of the weight and they'll carry 40%. But when you work with us, we're going to carry 90% of the weight. And this is what your 10% looks like. So this makes it really easy for us to elevate you in your market. Do you see that distinction?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and that's exactly what we do, but we haven't expressed it that way. We just say, hey, once they do bring them in as clients, then we do say, yeah, now relax. But in terms of in closing it, we don't do that, and that's where we haven't done that well. And when closing with people that or schools that don't know of us. So
yes. So, and always make it juxtaposed to whatever's the competition. So if your competition is them saying, we're going to handle this in-house, then you need to say, this is what it looks like if you do it in-house. This is what it looks like if you work with us. If they are making a decision between you and several other agencies, this is what it looks like when you work with somebody else. Like I said, that, they're carrying 60%, the agency's doing 40. In your model, you're doing 90, they do 10. You've got to juxtapose to whatever your prospect, the people who say no to working with you, find out, if you don't work with me, what are you going to do instead? What do they say? Pay attention to that, because all your juxtapose needs to be against that thing that they think is an alternative to you. You can even have a little chart on your website, the competitors, us, right?
Like that.
So let's go through this 5-star prospect exercise. And I want you to think of a school that you got amazing results for, or somebody that you absolutely loved working with, and you would take on dozens of these clients any day. Who's that?
So that would be, there was
and for those of you who are listening, I want you to be like applying this to your situation, right? So that this is like valuable to you as well. So who's an ideal client that you've worked with in the past, that if you had dozens of them, you would love it. You'd be like happy camper and wouldn't even feel like work. So who's that for you, Joe?
So right now it's one of the charter networks called Bright Start Schools.
Bright Start. Okay. What made or makes them an ideal client? Let's start to identify at least 5 qualities.
They are definitely open to the new ideas that we bring, or the strategy that we bring in.
Open. So does that mean that they pride themselves on being progressive?
Yes.
Okay.
They are also responsive. They're responsive when we communicate with them.
Okay.
And also they are they're committed.
Awesome.
And
what else?
they're also, and they're committed, and let's see.
Can you tell me any specifics about, like, is there any qualities about them that would, if you were going to create a velvet rope, right? A velvet rope policy for who you work with, that if somebody was in line, you could be like, hey, everybody who's in line who has XYZ, raise your hand. You're like, you guys to the front of the line. Is there any quality about them as a school that you would say would other, we could find other people like them that would make them be an ideal client?
Yes.
Meaning like they had X number of locations, or they are nationally based, not just locally based, or they are, some of these kinds of things.
Yeah. So one is their network they're growing, so they're expanding.
Okay.
It's an expanding charter school network. And then
Love it.
Yes. And then the other thing is that the programs they have for the students are excellent. So aside from the teaching, they have these.
So what I'm hearing is they value excellence. So when they want to work with a PR firm that also exhibits excellence, right?
Yes.
What would take this to the next level for you guys is to say versus what? Committed versus what? Responsive versus what? Progressive versus stagnant. Responsive versus you have to chase them. Committed versus they don't have internal buy-in. Expanding versus declining enrollment. Excellence versus
mediocrity.
Mediocre. Yeah, mediocrity or mediocre.
Yeah, mediocre.
Okay. What's been most beneficial, Joe, as feedback? What's been most insightful or beneficial about walking through this for you?
Well, that in selling to prospective networks, I can say that they're going to identify with these qualities and how I can compare our agency very similar to their qualities, and I will be able to stand out from other PR agencies as well. Okay?
Yeah,
because our agency, our boutique agency, is responsive, is committed. We are looking to expand and grow with them, and we do provide excellent writing services. And that's for new programs like the mobile apps that will elevate their awareness. And
another thing that you could really specialize in is you could say, and I don't know how many PR firms are exclusive to charter school networks. I'd imagine that even that specificity, then you could do the juxtaposed. Here's why our method is superior from other PR firms, because they don't get you. We get you.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that that approach.
What is your biggest competitor? Not another PR firm. I mean, if they don't invest in PR awareness, what are they doing instead to try to increase enrollment?
It would be their in-house marketing person.
Okay.
Because I think you had brought up a good point where they'll look at a proposal and look at it from the point of view. Okay, your proposal is $5,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month versus somebody it's $5,000. So we could afford $5,000, but not $7,000 a month.
Yeah.
And but I think once we get them on the one-on-one, we can say, yes, well, it is a little bit more, but this is also what we provide. But it's until we meet them that we're telling them. They do not know that beforehand.
Yes,
So,
you've got to get some of this messaging early.
yes.
Right? In order for them to choose you versus an in-house person, you might say to give them a hint of the investment, and is to say like, we are rather it would, in order to get the results that we get, it would be equivalent to X number of full-time employees in your organization, and they wouldn't have X number of years that we do. So you've got whatever is the competition. If it's an in-house versus you, we've got to build the case of why you versus going in-house. And this is a distinction that I would make potentially with you is there's a distinction of head versus hands. Head is strategy. Head is knowing what's the right thing to do that's going to yield the results. Head is identifying what's going to be that plan that's going to yield the results. Hands are the doers. And with our firm, most in-house people who are inside of a school, a charter school network, do not have time to do both head and hands. So therefore, they're trying to invest time in learning so that they can put their hands to work. But it's very expensive to somebody who has the head experience to yield the results. With our PR agency, you're going to get X number of years of the strategy experience, and the hands, this is the pieces that are done for you. So now you've just like put some context to the price of your services versus to what it would cost for them, for what it would look like if they were in-house. Does that make sense?
Wow, I love it. Yes. I mean, I can already see, retargeting and creating some ads for our Facebook page, to kind of introducing the who, or, and create an awareness of the benefits that we provide. I think I've been looking at it from the point of view of the services that we provide, but not.
Yes, but then now you're commoditized.
Exactly. Not really the value, those nuggets, giving them those nuggets. And, on the marketing aspect, because we also provide marketing solutions, whether it's collateral, or in this case, mobile apps, applying these same characteristics to the mobile app applications.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I can see this just applying it to each service. I can even break it down for each service and
yes.
and
Yeah.
provide.
It's now one of my 10x3 framework for overcoming objections is this 10x3. We're going to walk through what are the top 10 objections and the top 3 ways to overcome them. One is you are dissolving them in the sales process, and I'll show you what that looks like. 2, you're using models. What have I done, you guys, right here? Models and frameworks. I've just taught you guys a bunch of concepts using models and frameworks. So create a model or a framework. And I'm going to show you one related to what you just shared, Joe. And number 3, stories, client success stories. So for you, Joe, you just talked about how you have the mobile app, you have the PR, you have all this. One distinction I made for one of my clients who, in one of the frameworks and models that we developed, I call this the pizza model. So she sold how it was for course creators. She helped them to scale their courses on Evergreen. And the biggest competitor they would say is like, well, I can take a Facebook ads course, or maybe I'll hire an agency. We'd make that distinction of like, okay, agencies who don't know your industry may not get you the same results. Or if we would say, okay, well, if you took a Facebook ad course, you would solve that piece of the pie. In your world, it might be if you hired somebody to do your mobile app, it would be that piece of the pie. If you had somebody who did your HR, PR, it would be that piece of the pie. And you can spend an enormous amount of money on each one of these. But what we do instead is you can get the entire solution all in one place so that we can make sure that all of it is working together synchronously to yield the best result. So that's the pizza model for people who do a lot of things, and your clients are thinking about, or your prospects are thinking about going to somebody else who only offers a little slice of the solution. You've got to juxtapose it of why would they invest in the whole thing. And the pizza model's one of my favorites to use. So that's something that came up as you were sharing that, Joe. So that could be like one of the visual models or frameworks that you use as an example. What's been most useful?
Wow, all three. I mean, definitely the sales process to identify where I'm at, or where I want to be more, to be able to close more and feel and connect with a protected client. And of course the models, because now I can visualize and see myself where I am and what I'm doing right, what I'm not doing right.
Yeah, let me explain story, because I didn't go into that one. So there was a prospect where one of my clients, she sold to course creators. It was the same client. And some of the objections that most frequently came up was, but I don't know tech. I'm not really good at tech. Or somebody would say, how soon do I start making money? Or somebody would say, I always put price in context of something that is valuable to them. So Joe, for you, PR at $5,000 a month is equivalent to how many students being enrolled?
Oh, shoot. So I think I did the math is that if they were to get one new student, okay, it would increase their budget like by $10,000. I mean, that's like,
okay. One new student, half a student would pay for you. Do you think that we would pick up at least a student from the work that we would do together? Then you're in the profit immediately.
yeah. And I think,
right?
Yeah, the other or prevent one student from leaving their school.
Yes.
Also
Yes. Retention. Yes.
Retention. So it's not only recruit, but also retention, because
yes.
with school choice, at least here in Los Angeles, that now you don't necessarily have to stick to your school district. They can move. So now,
You need to have that. That needs to be in your marketing.
Yes, you just gave me an idea right now. In terms of not only is it about recruitment, because that's how they sell their board on, paying for additional services, but it's really about, I mean, it can also be about retention, because they'll lose 10,000.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
yes. Write that down. So this was this client, these are the types of objections came up. And I had one client story that was my favorite client story to tell, because this lady's story overcame like 7 objections in it. I would say, well, let me tell you about Sandra. Or like if people would say like, will this work in my niche? Do you guys only help people who sell something related to making money? Okay. So those are examples. So I'll say this, let me tell you about Sandra. Sandra was a photographer in Seattle, and she was making multiple 6 figures photographing on the weekends, but her twins were going to graduate in a couple years. And she's like, you know what? I don't want to be gone every single weekend when I only have a couple more years left with my kids. So she wanted to launch a course. Guess who her course was launched to? It was launched to a teeny tiny niche, film photographers. I didn't even know these guys still existed. Film photographers. So not digital photographers, film photographers, old timey film in the camera. And she taught them, get this, a lighting technique. If they had a studio without a window, it made it look like natural light. Okay. How many buyers do you think are out there? Small niche. She joined us in February. By March, I'm sharing with you guys this story as I would in a sales call, to overcome objections. She joined us in February, non-techie. She's not a techie person. So she got her VA to help her. And by March, it was up and running, and this was evergreen. And so, but she's not technical. So she typed into the group, hey guys, how does this work? And we had identified that she needed one sale a day to replace her multiple six-figure photography income. One sale a day. She types in the Facebook group, hey guys, how does this work? Because my webinar is supposed to go live today, but I'm still in bed at 6:30 in the morning and I just woke up to 5 sales. By the end of the week, she had 52 sales. And every single month after that, she had at least a sale a day. And by month 10, she'd increased her goal to 3 a day. Do you see how by sharing that story, I am kind of overcoming a bunch of objections at once? So pay attention to the objections that your clients share with you and see if you can identify client stories that would overcome those objections, or even if it's your own story that would overcome those objections. Because one of the things, let me just skip to this image here. And thank you so much, Joe. Everybody give some love to Joe. Type into the chat. Great job, Joe, because he was awesome. I appreciate you being on the love seat, hot seat. So here's an analogy that I give around objections. I want you to think about when a prospect brings up an objection, or think about a time that you've gotten on a recent sales call. Whenever you bring up an objection, does a part of you feel like I just know what they're going to say? They're just going to immediately try to rebuttal that objection and convince me to buy from them, right? And so what that feels like is in tennis, if the prospect is hitting tennis balls over the tennis net, and every time they give you an objection, you boom, hit it right back. You got to answer. You're on top of it. They throw you another tennis ball. Well, I don't know. I need to speak to my partner. Boom, you go back. If they say, well, what are what kind of the success stories did you have? Boom, you hit the tennis ball back. That's not the way to do it. The way to handle objections is to collect all the tennis balls. Okay, you want to hear how quickly you would make your money back. You want to hear this. You want to hear this. What else? What else are your concerns? You want to collect all those tennis balls, because what you will find is that sometimes the real objection is something entirely different. Usually it's fear-based. Either they fear that working with you will not give them the result that they want, or they feel that somehow they might be the exception, that they are going to be a reason why they don't get the result. It's actually fear of themselves. Even if somebody says, what's your success rate? My answer to that is, even if I told you it's 100%, what I've found is that sometimes our brain wants to tell us a story that we're going to be an exception to that. Is that might be happening for you? Because we have a very high success rate, or we have this love it or leave it period that if you don't absolutely love it, so we take the risk on us, right? Some of these kinds of things, right? So I've had people give me a whole bunch of objections. And I'm like, okay, we'll definitely cover that. We'll definitely cover that. Is there anything else? Anything else? I'm just collecting the tennis balls. And then I get to the real one and I didn't even address the other 9 and they're in. So don't get caught up in thinking that if somebody gives you an objection, you got to bounce it right back. Really try to get to what's the root of what's happening underneath that. So I want you to, let's do this together. I want you to take a moment to write down, what are the top 10 objections that you get? Let's take a moment to do this and type up the top 10 objections that you get. And if you don't know what those are, then take a guess. So here's some that I've written down. Let me think about it. I need to speak with my spouse or partner. The timing isn't right. Maybe an issue is cancellations, reschedules of your appointments. Can I speak with one of your clients? I can't afford it. I don't have time. I want you to write down the top 10 objections. Every single client I bring onto my agency, we take time to identify what are the top 10 objections. because I want to be prepared for it. And I want to make sure that the sales funnel addresses as many of those as possible in the 10x3 model that we'll develop for them. It's too expensive, Joe says. Yep. Yep. I can't afford it. It's another example of that. Our sales are down by 40%, Lloyd says. Yep. Something I might say to them is, so if you don't do this, what are you going to do? Keep watching it go down? Or is it, how are you going to interject and change that around? What's your plan for turning that around? Right? It's not a reason not to do it. It might be a reason to do it. I already have a communication person, Joe says. Anyone else? What are the top objections? Some top objections that you get? How do I know I'll get the result you promise? That's a good one. What are they looking for there? They're looking for certainty. We can't give them 100% certainty. There's no 100% certainty in life. So you need to compare it, juxtapose it to what's the certainty they get from trying to do it on their own versus following a proven system and having somebody with your experience doing it. You might say, well, these are the results our clients get. If you don't get this result, then at a bare minimum, we want to see you get this. Or maybe you need to change the metric that they're measuring. So for instance, if I'm doing social media marketing, I will change the metric. I'm not going to make the metric about the number of followers or the number of likes. I'm going to make the metric about how many clients are we actually getting from that. Like you might need to change the measurement. So part of the sales funnel is in educating them in this stage about solution aware is changing the criteria by which they make a decision and make it metrics that you track in your company or that you can ensure you can get the good results. I have a client that I'm going to go ahead and share this. I wasn't planning at this moment, but to emphasize the method for whenever you share your offer, when you share the offer, I want you to think of it as sharing it in context of the client journey. Most people make the mistake of sharing all the features in logistics. The client can get overwhelmed and they think, I don't have time for this. So as an example, I might say, okay, your objective is to get to $1 million. Where you're at now is $30,000 a month. So the way we'll do that is we're going to break this down into quarters. And at a minimum, we want to see you add 10K a month per quarter. At a minimum. We have had clients who went from 30K to $1 million within 4 months. But let's just be conservative and say we're going to do it 10K a month. So this is where I'm like setting the standard for that. And the way that we approach it is we're going to accomplish this in the first quarter. We're going to do this for you, and this for you. In the second quarter, we're going to focus on this, and this, or doing more of this one, right? And so I'm describing this from a client journey perspective because the prospect is thinking, most prospects are only thinking about the first 90 days. So if your engagement is 12 months, I actually like to paint the vision. If it's a 12-month vision, if you want to retain them for 12 months, I paint the vision for 3 years. Because one way I retain them to keep going, and it depends on how your services are set up. Some of you might continue to build them month to month to month. Others of you have a check-in and you have a re-up on your service. So in that case, the way I sell a re-up is I say, okay, this is what we've accomplished to date. The next stage would be this. And then the next stage is we're going to focus on this. If you go somewhere else, you're starting all brand new and re-establishing the groundwork. and you're not able to build on the work that we've done together. So what we want to do is build on what we've done and take it up to this next level because we've got the foundations in place. And so now we can accelerate the results at the next stage, and then we can scale, right? Like that's an example. So you're always selling a longer term of the value of a longer term, even though the commitment may be month to month, the commitment might be 90 days, the commitment might be a year, whatever it may be. You say, here's a 3-year journey, a 1-year commitment. Right? So you want to paint the vision of the logistics of the support and what the support is going to look like, or what we're going to give to you is this, this, and this. So when you wake up on Monday morning, after we've done your game plan for your first quarter, and you're like, okay, what do I do now? You're going to do this. So you want to put it in the step-by-step process that the client journey is going to look like, so that you're not just listing a bunch of features. You're not just listing a bunch of things that you give them, because the prospect's brain cannot make context of it. Okay, if I sign up, what happens next? You're going to have a game plan. We're going to do this. We're going to map this out, and then we're going to implement this. You're going to see these kinds of results within the first quarter. Then we're going to focus on doing this, and it's going to grow to this, that sort of thing. So that's just one thing I wanted. Is there a money back guarantee for your proposals? So rather than money back guarantee, what I like to do for agencies is this. If I say, now, typically the investment is, I just talked to an agency guy that my company might sell for. So we had this exact conversation. So normally our engagement is 12 months, $3,000 a month. But we know what it's like to be locked into something and you have been burned in the past, or you have whatever, if they've brought up an objection around this. So what we do instead is we have this 120-day love it or leave it. And in this first 120 days, we want to give you the full experience. So you are going to get this, you're going to get your game plan. We're going to work on these first set of things, whatever it is that you do. And at the end of that 120 days, if you do not absolutely love it, you can exit and we part as friends. Rarely anybody ever does. But so if you don't cancel, what happens is we'll continue for 12 months, and then it'll renew year to year after that, or month to month after that, whatever it might be. So rather than a money back guarantee, I'm giving them a love it or leave it. Does that make sense, VJ?
I love it. Oh, yes, because that's one of the biggest things that, that commitment. And we know that, for them to have the results that they're looking for, there needs to be an ongoing at least 12 months for them to see consecutive results afterwards, because sometimes it might be after 2 months that you start already building that momentum, and because they don't see it the first month, they're like, oh, it's not working. But we know that like, just give it time. And so I love that 120, 3 months, love it or leave it, because
4 months, 4 months. If you can do 4 months, yeah. Whatever it would take for you to give them, you need to get a quick win. You need a design that if something is longer term, you need to give them a quick win. And maybe there's a measurement that you can achieve no matter what in that first 4 months, which means that you are going to make sure that there's a camera on site within the first 4 months. You're going to make sure that they get exposed in this many publications, or whatever it might be for you, Joe. But each one of us who are here, even if it's like, hey, if you're in your case, Joe, what you might say is like, in your first 120 days, if you do not get one, if we look at a 4-month period compared to the same 4-month period, a different 4-month period, and if you haven't retained at least one client, one student, because what we want to do is have hashtag our services paid for. One student, we're going to help you retain at least one student or add one additional student, and you're in the profit immediately. And the rest of the 12 months, you're basically working with us for free, because that student retained is worth 10,000 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? Larry asked, what are the services you usually sell? Usually something related to business services, business, money, something that is financial measurement of a return for somebody is usually what we do. Okay. So let's bring on somebody. Well, we talked about this. This is the other perspective, what sales is. Now, how many of you have seen this image before? Do you see a young lady or an old lady? Both. Young, old lady, both. Okay. Some see both. Maybe you've seen this before. Some see young, someone sees an old lady. So if you don't see the young lady, I'm going to see if I can make this clear. Let's pretend her hair's coming here, right? Let's pretend that's all her hair, because that ear ends up throwing you off. These are her eyelashes. Here's her nose, is her profile. Here's her chin. Here's her neck. She has a necklace. Here's her fur. Here's her hat. Do all of you guys see the young lady? Here's her hair in the background. Do you see the young lady now? Yep. Okay. If you did not see the old lady this is her eye here, and an eyelash. Here's the eyelash. Here's her ugly nose. Here's her chin. Here's her mouth. Here's her hair. And this is like fur that's coming across her chin. And then here's her hat. Do you guys see that old lady? Does everyone see the old lady? All of you who saw the young lady before, do you see the old lady now? So all that this is perspective. And what we're doing with our prospects is they have a belief. And when what we want to think about is, if your prospect is asking, it has an objection, for instance, like, well, do you have any other success stories? Or let's just say, like, I have clients who we sell courses to. Then they'll say, like, can I see into the portal? What I want to understand is, like, what's the belief? What's the concern? Because I don't want to just like hit the tennis ball over the court. I want to hear, what is the underlying concern? I'm curious. What would that tell you? What would that ensure for you? Because I want to understand, what is a belief? What is the concern that's underneath their question? What's the question under the question? So I want you guys, let's go back up to these top 10 points of resistance. And I'm going to show you another resource of how I've done this with my clients, where we have gone through and we've mapped all of these top objections, the top objections. So let's say it's, so I'm going to stop the share on this, and I'm going to start the share on this. So here's the top 10 most common points of resistance and how to solve them before the call. So let me think about it. This is like setting the expectation on what I call a triage call. I got it from one of my mentors, that is Taki Moore. I actually sell for his account. So let me think about it. The possible underlying belief is, I'm not sold yet. So during the triage, during this time, we'll dive deep into the details of the program and create a game plan so you can get all the information to make an informed decision on the call. I'm telling them what they're going to get out of their strategy session. On the thank you page of the booking, I have a video that talks about precisely what is going to happen on the call. And it says, hey, to prepare you for our conversation, I'd like to share our success criteria with you. If you answer yes to the following 4 areas, I'm confident we can help you reach your goals. Right timing. If your timing is now, not in 6 months, not in a year, but now. If staying in your job or finding one is no longer an option, or like we went into the timing. Right model. You know that starting a consulting business is the right move for you. The right investment. Most of the women in our program come to us because they're wanting to replace a 6-figure or multiple 6-figure income. You'll need 8 to 10K to get started. We go ahead and put the price there. Right time. This is like on the thank you page. If we extend an invitation to you, so this is like, let me think about it. We're giving them some information beforehand. Right time. If we've extended an invitation to the program, it's not uncommon that women start getting paying clients within 6 weeks of starting the program. We have 2 phases: build your business, build your income. That's it. Look forward to talking with you, basically. So here's an example where we were overcoming the let me think about it, because we're giving them some information before they have the call. And then before conducting the call, I'll say, let me walk you through how this works. You've applied for a program, or you've applied for a call to inquire, you've inquired about our services. We'll spend the first part of the call really making sure that we can help you, that you're at the right stage, and that your challenges and goals align with what we do best. If I feel like there's a fit, I will make an invitation for you to join our program or to work with us. At that juncture, I'll give you the opportunity to ask all the questions that you might have to determine whether or not we're a fit for you. What I'll ask is that you ask what you need to be a clear yes or no by the end of the call. Are you comfortable with that? Do you see how at multiple stages in the sales funnel, I have started to overcome this objection? And then I've done the same thing with, I need to speak with my spouse or partner. This is a big one for agencies. The possible underlying belief is, I'm not sure I'm a yes. I don't trust myself. I want to buy myself some time. So on the booking form, I'll have them, it'll say, make sure that all decision makers are present. And it's challenging to see this, so I'll blow it up. This little booking form, I'll say, is there a business partner or other party important to decisions made in the business? Please indicate his or her name. Attendance is required in order for the call to be conducted. So before they book, I'm making sure that the partner is going to be there. I'm not going to do a whole sales job and one person sold and the other one isn't. I want all decision makers to be present. I will reschedule the call if they're not there. So another way is on an initial screening call. This is like 10-minute call before I book in a longer one. Is your partner supportive? We'd really love to have them on the call to help support you and make an informed decision. If they might have good questions that you may not know how to answer, can you arrange for them to be there? If they say no, then push back and ask, give me some insight into your decision-making process. Would you need to run it past them or check in with them in order to make a decision? If they insist they can make a decision on their own, then book the call. Otherwise, insist on waiting until they can both be present. I just had one of my salespeople say, Vanessa, I had a call and, oh, wait, are we already out of time? Derek?
We normally do a hard cut at 90 minutes, but you've been
Holy
sharing so much
moly.
great material that if you'd like, we can go a bit longer for tonight.
So I will end with this. Let me get back on to sharing my screen.
Yeah, totally up to you if you want.
We'll wrap it
go.
up. We'll wrap it up. We'll go a
Okay.
few minutes, but we're going to wrap this up.
All right, and then we do also have the 3 lightning round questions for you once you're done. So we'll go through those as well.
Keep going. It's
okay,
so great. Keep going, please. That's what Larry, Julie, you guys are so kind. Okay. So, with the resistance dissolver, what I want you guys to do is with every single objection, take a moment to write out, what is that objection? Just how I had listed, which is like, okay, maybe I need the partner to help make a decision. What's the underlying belief? I don't trust myself. I'm buying time. And then I want you to write where in your sales process, just like I modeled for you, can you help overcome that objection? So I want you to proactively look through that, or have a story to overcome that objection, or a framework like I did with the pizza model to overcome that objection. Every single one of those, because if you think through those top 10 objections, it's going to make it easier for you to be able to ensure that you're not getting them and losing sales because of them. It's okay to get them. If somebody's asking me, if they're asking me questions, if they're engaging, then I don't look at objections as bad. I mean, it's buying signs if they're asking me good questions. Some people are more analytical. So your homework is to identify the 5-star prospects the way that we did with Joe, identify your top 10 objections, and then to identify in the 10x3 framework, the 3 being what is a story that can overcome it, where in the sales process can you overcome it, or where can you create a framework that helps to overcome it, that you can show it as a slide or you can draw it out, and that ends up helping the prospect to change their belief, just like I did with the old lady and the young lady. I was showing you a different way to look at it. And in sales conversations, I'll frequently say, like, if somebody says, well, I want to wait till I do this or that, or they have an objection, I'm about permission-based selling. So I'll say, are you open to seeing that? Are you open to looking at that a different way? Are you open to a different perspective on that? And then it allows me to try to interject a different way to look at it. All right, Derek, hit me with the top 3 lightning round questions.
All right, but before that, real quick, what we like to do here is I'd like to invite everyone to go ahead and unmute and let Vanessa know how much of a great job she's been doing. So come on, guys, unmute, say thanks.
Thank you, Vanessa. Awesome.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you. It was really
Vanessa,
good.
this is
Really
totally
good.
awesome. Thank you so much.
We have, man. I'm at a bar, but still great.
Awesome. Great job.
Great stuff,
Thank you.
Vanessa.
Thank you, guys. It's such a pleasure. I'm glad that was helpful.
Loved it.
Oh, yeah. Where can we go to give you a good review? I'd like to do that.
Oh, so sweet of you. I'm on Google. If you look up Google Vanessa Horn, or I'm on LinkedIn or Facebook Vanessa Horn.
Cool.
I appreciate
Awesome.
it. Thank you so much.
And then as for the lightning round, let's go ahead and start off with the best advice you've ever received.
The best advice I have ever received, I actually trust yourself.
Okay. Awesome.
It's taken me a long time to learn that, and I'll give you a little background on that. I know this is lightning round, but I don't know if any of you guys know a little bit about my story growing up in poverty, but I also grew up in a very emotionally abusive environment. So this is why my selling style is to create emotionally and psychologically safe environments for prospects, because I believe that buyer safety is crucial. And I also, when we have been through most of us in life don't want to feel our emotions. And so therefore we also lose the gift of really trusting our gut. So it's taken me time to just be comfortable with uncomfortable emotions, but then it has allowed me to create a greater attunement to trusting myself when I get red flags about a prospect, or because usually proves out to be true later on, like they weren't a fit, or somebody that I hire get red flags. I'm going to call it a no. I'm going to trust what's coming up for me around that. So that's my answer around that.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Next question. What is a book you would recommend for this audience other than your own, if you have one, and why?
It's not a book, but I guess there is a book. It's called Never Split the Difference, but there's a course on Masterclass by the same gentleman it was a former FBI, and FBI agent who taught negotiation. And my son, I have 3 boys who are in teenagers. He was like, Mom, why don't they teach school like this? This is so amazing. It's fantastic. It'll help you with the psychology of sales. Chris Voss, masterclass on negotiation.
Thank you.
Or get his book.
All right. And then what is a tool, app, resource you would recommend to this group and why?
My brother works for design agencies, and he's now with an agency who serves Facebook, Dropbox, Nike is his client. They're a big company out of Portland. But before that, he was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And this is podunk little town in the middle of nowhere, right? Tulsa, Oklahoma. $150,000 was their fee to do market research on who is the ideal client, what are their pains and problems, what are their aspirations and desires, and they would do some market research on them and propose an ideal client. Not even the branding for the website, not even any design assets, just who is an ideal client. So the resource I want to encourage you is your strategy sessions. Treat them like they are $150,000 worth of market research. Listen to what your prospects say are their biggest pains and challenges. Have that be your problem awareness marketing. Listen to what they say that they want. Have that be part of your solution awareness. Listen to what I always ask this question that's kind of a cheat in my sales enrollment conversations. I'll say, okay, great. You are here. You want to be here. What do you feel like you're missing? What would make us an ideal fit? Who would be a perfect agency for you? What are you looking for? It's almost like being a doctor and saying, here's the prescription pad, write your prescription. Because then I get to present my offer directly in line with what they told me that they want. So your biggest asset is those calls, because then that can be, use those exact words in your marketing, and it will increase your lead generation, your demand generation, all of that by really valuing those strategy sessions. Even people who aren't the right fit or people who say no, it's still $150,000 worth of value to take that and to incorporate it. So that's my answer. Not super lightning fast.
Perfect. You've been absolutely amazing on this. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's got a lot of great value out of it. So thank you so much for being on tonight.
For a couple websites where you guys can go, where I share more about this. One is highendsellsecrets.com, for those of you getting the course, luxury brand from home. And you can search me, Vanessa Horn. I'm not the professional model, but I am the coach on sales, and I'm happy to serve you guys any way that I can outside of this, with our free resources that we have. It's been such a delight to be able to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for staying over. All of you guys have stayed, so that just is such an honor to me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. And is there a particular social media you might like them to find you on?
I am most frequently on Facebook.
Okay, under Vanessa Horn.
Vanessa Horn. So if you do the normal domain Facebook, then / Vanessa Horn Success Coach, and you'll find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you once again. You've been absolutely amazing. And
all right, you guys have a wonderful evening. All right, lots of love. Have a good weekend.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
You too. All right, everyone. And you know what Damien likes to say now? All right. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thanks for joining us tonight. Go mobile or go home. Have a great night, y'all.